Hola Spanish learners from all over the world. Mi nombre es Maikin y les doy la bienvenida a un nuevo podcast de Cospanish. In today's podcast, I will be talking about family members, miembros de la familia en español. I'm sure you know some of them, the most common ones I would say. For example, mamá, papá, hermano, hermana. But when we talk about our families, we talk about many people. We don't just talk about our parents or our siblings. We also talk about our uncle, our nephew, great-grandmother, for example. So you see that it's more than that. Do you know how to say all these words in Spanish? If you don't, this is the right podcast for you. Because after listening to this and learning the new words, you will expand your vocabulary and you will be able to say more things when you want to communicate your ideas in Spanish. So I hope you are excited to learn about these new words and stay tuned. Let's begin. Family is a very important part in our Latin American culture. If you have the opportunity to talk with someone from this region, you will see how we always talk about our family. We incorporate them in our speech. For example, you will be talking about what your brother did or what your mother-in-law would do if you did a different thing, for example. You will realize that family members are really easy to learn in Spanish because if you learn one word, then you can learn the other one, that is to say from masculine to feminine. For example, hermano, you know it's brother, hermana, it's feminine. So actually this is really simple because you don't have to memorize two different words like in English, brother and sister. So you have hermano, hermana. Of course, we have some exceptions. For example, mamá, madre, papá, padre. But in general, they are the same words. All you have to do is change that O and make it an A. And you will have a new word. Okay, let's get started with hijo. Hijo is spelled H-I-J-O. Remember that in Spanish, J is pronounced H. That's the sound, like H in English. Okay, if we have that hijo is son, how do you say daughter in Spanish? If you said hija, you are right. Remember that it's the same spelling. The only difference is O and A at the end of the word. Now let's move on to abuelo. You might heard this word before, abuelo. Abuelo is grandfather or grandpa in Spanish. So how do you say grandmother? Muy bien, abuela. Now we have nieto. For example, yo soy el nieto de mi abuelo. What do you think nieto means? N-I-E-T-O. Grandson. Muy bien. So, how do you say granddaughter? If grandson is nieto, of course, granddaughter is going to be nieta. Muy bien. Remember the spelling N-I-E-T-O, N-I-E-T-A. Grandson and granddaughter. Nieto y nieta. Muy bien. Now we have bisabuelo. Bisabuelo. What do you think it means? If abuelo is grandfather, what do you think bisabuelo means? Why do we have to add bis before abuelo? If you're thinking of great grandfather, you are right. When you want to say great grandfather or great grandmother in Spanish, all you have to do is add bis to the word. So we have bisabuelo and bisabuela. Remember that we said nieto and nieta, grandson and granddaughter. So how do you say great grandson or great granddaughter? Remember, what should we add before? Bis. That is to say that we are going to say Bisnieto, great grandson. So how do you say great granddaughter? Bisnieta. Very good. You see, it's not that complicated. Okay, now let's move on to great great grandfather. Wait a second here, because if you're thinking of saying bisabuelo, unfortunately that's not right. We don't say it that way. We have a different word. In this case, we say tatarabuelo. Tatarabuelo. That is to say that we add tatara before the word. Tatarabuelo for great great grandfather. Now you know that tatarabuela would be great great grandmother. Tataranieto, what do you think it's going to be? Tataranieto. If you said great great grandson, you are right. And tataranieta would be great great granddaughter. Tatarabuelo and tatarabuela in Spanish are really common because families used to have children when they were very very young. For example, a woman could have her first baby when she was maybe 14 or 15. So then when she was 30, she got to be a grandmother. When she was 50, she got to be a great grandmother. And maybe when she was 70, she got to be a great great grandmother. So this is actually very common in Latin America culture. I myself had a tatarabuela for 18 years. She passed away when I was 18. So remember, tatarabuelo, tatarabuela, tataranieto, tataranieta. Now, if I have una hermana and she has un hijo, what would I be to that son? I would be his uncle. Tío en español. T-I-O. Now you know how to say aunt in Spanish. Tía, muy bien. Tío, tía. I would be tío del hijo de mi hermana. In that case, this boy would be my sobrino. S-O-B-R-I-N-O. Sobrino. What do you think it means? If you said that it means nephew, you are right. Now you know how to say niece. What do you think it's going to be? If sobrino is nephew, what's it gonna be? Sobrina. Muy bien. So we have sobrino, sobrina, tío, tía. Tell me, ¿tú eres tío o tía? ¿Tú tienes sobrinos o sobrinas? Let me know. We also have the word primo or prima. You might heard this one before. So, primo and prima are going to be cousin. You see that in English you have only one word, cousin. En español tenemos masculino y femenino. Okay, let's move on. Now it's time to talk about our in-laws. That is to say, your partner's family, your spouse's family. Okay, let's get started with esposo, esposa. I'm sure you might heard these words before. Esposo, husband, esposa, wife. You can say esposos when you mean they are husband and wife. You can make it masculine. In this case, we understand they are both included in the idea. Ellos son esposos. It's something like they are married or they are husband and wife. Ahora, ¿cómo se dice mother-in-law? This is something that is different in Spanish from English. Because in Spanish we have one word. In English you have a compound word. For example, mother-in-law is going to be suegra. S-U-E-G-R-A. Suegra. So how do you say father-in-law? Suegro. Muy bien. Just remember, suegro, suegra. Something I would like to tell you about the use of suegro and suegra in Spanish or in the Latin American culture is that you don't need to be married to the other person in order to call his or her parents suegro or suegra. That is to say, you have a boyfriend, you have a girlfriend, then his or her parents are going to be suegro and suegra. Keep this information in mind, okay? Now we have cuñado and cuñada. Cuñado, cuñada. C-U-Ñ. Ñ is that N with that line over it. Ñ. Cuñada, cuñado. So we have C-U-Ñ-A-D-O. Cuñado es el hermano de mi esposa. Cuñada, la hermana de mi esposa. So what do you think it means? Muy bien. If you said brother-in-law or sister-in-law, you are right. Remember, cuñado, cuñada. Let me know. ¿Tú tienes un suegro, una suegra, un cuñado, una cuñada? Let me know, please. Okay. Now I want to talk about two different words. They are not the same in masculine and feminine form. That's why I left them to the end, because they are completely different. So we have yerno. Yerno is going to be Y-E-R-N-O. Yerno. You might hear some people pronouncing this word as yerno. Yerno, yerno, it's exactly the same thing. But what does it mean? ¿Qué es yerno? For example, tú tienes un suegro. Do you remember what it means? Suegro, father-in-law. Tú eres su yerno. So what do you think it means? Suegro, yerno. Tú eres el yerno. Son-in-law. Son-in-law is going to be yerno. Here, I'm afraid to tell you that yerna doesn't exist because we have a different word for daughter-in-law. It's going to be nuera. N-U-E-R-A. Nuera. So these are two other different words we have in Spanish when it comes to family members. Yerno, nuera. Why do I say other two different ones? Because we also have mamá, papá, madre, padre. That would be all. Everything you need to know about family members in Spanish. And before saying goodbye, let's practice. I will ask you a few questions and then you will try to answer. So, ¿quién es la hermana de mi mamá? You see that in Spanish we say the whole thing. Who is the sister of my mom? Yeah, try to understand it that way. So, ¿quién es la hermana de mi mamá? Mi tía. And ¿quién es la hija de mis padres? Mi hermana. ¿Quién es el hijo de mi tío? Mi primo. Cousin. ¿Quién es el papá de mi papá? Mi abuelo. Muy bien. ¿Quién es el hermano de mi esposa? Remember? Mi cuñado. ¿Quién es la mamá de mi esposa? You know this one. Mi suegra. Muy bien. ¿Quién es la hija de mi hijo? Mi nieta. ¿Quién es el hijo de mi hermana? Mi sobrino. Muy bien. ¿Quién es el papá de mi esposa? Mi suegro. And finally, ¿quién es el hijo de mis padres? Mi hermano. Muy bien. So, if you think you need more practice in order to learn these words, you can always listen to this podcast again, or all the times you think you need to listen to it, because you should keep in mind that the more you practice, the more you learn, and you need to practice and to use these words in real conversations. Do you want to expand your knowledge and practice more about these or other topics? We invite you to meet our experienced professional Colombian tutors. All you have to do is to visit Cospanish.com and book a lesson with any of them. We're waiting for you. Challenge yourself and start speaking Spanish. Gracias por escuchar y hasta la próxima.